Before you get into this video, this is an in-depth review, so there's going to be a ton of spoilers. If you want a spoiler-free review, make sure you click on the link up here. With that being said, let's get into this video. 3, 2, 1. What's up, guys? Welcome to Stuck on the Screen, where we watch movies and TV shows
and never miss a scene.
We're back at it again with another in-depth review, and today we're going to be reviewing Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Let's get into it. So getting started with the characters in Venom, Let There Be Carnage, you obviously got Tom Hardy, who plays Venom / Eddie Brock, and then you got Woody Harrelson playing Carnage / Cletus Cassidy, and then you got Michelle Williams playing Anne Wayne.
We got Reed Scott playing Dan Lewis. We have Stephen Graham playing Mulligan. And then we have Naomi Harris playing Frances Barrison Shriek.
Alright, so the movie starts off with Cletus and Frances sharing neighboring cells in some type of... I mean, it looks like prison to me, but it's
I think it's a
home
children's
for kids.
home, yeah.
For troubled kids. And basically they talk to each other, communicate with each other through like this string that they put through the pipes or whatever. But then they're saying that... Or Frances is saying that they're going to take her away and lock her up because her powers are becoming too great for...
Yeah, they can't like control them or keep them contained.
Yeah, they can't keep them contained anymore. So they start taking Frances away. Obviously, Cletus is getting upset with that. Yeah, I think they're sending her to Ravencroft to help like contain her powers. So they put her in the van. They're on their way. And honestly, she looks kind of threatening. She just goes up to the dude and she's like, "Any last words?"
Yeah, I'd be threatened.
Yeah, and then she gets up to dude and like just screams in his ear. She has like this supersonic voice and makes the dude go deaf. So he ends up shooting her in the face, and she falls out the van, and Frances is dead.
And then it cuts to the current day, and Cletus is now in prison, and he wants to be interviewed by Eddie Brock only. For some reason.
Yeah, he's only allowing Eddie to speak to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that part's actually pretty funny because Mulligan's talking to Eddie, like trying to convince him to go speak with Cletus. And then as he's doing that, Venom's in the back of Eddie's head just talking, and then he pops out and he almost like eats Mulligan's head off just straight from his back.
Let me bite his head off.
Yeah, but then Eddie pushes him in the bathroom, and they go in this back and forth banter, and they're sitting in the toilet stall, and the lady next to them stripping out. Because all that the other people around can hear is just Eddie speaking. They can't hear Venom's voice. So it just sounds like Eddie's talking to himself.
He's like a psychopath.
Yeah. So then the lady like peeks underneath. She only sees his shoes, obviously. So she thinks he's even crazier. Then Mulligan's waiting outside the restroom, like listening in. And then he just pops back out. He's like, "I'll do it." So Venom convinced him to go speak with him, I guess.
Yeah. So Eddie goes to interview Cletus, and Cletus tells him he'll give him all this information about like how he killed all these people and where they're buried and stuff.
Cletus is a damn psychopath.
Yeah, seriously.
Killing his mom, killing his grandma. That dude's crazy.
Yeah. In exchange, he has to put this, like a poem into his headline.
Yeah. And I think basically he just wants that quote of the poem to basically go out to Frances if she's still alive. He wants her to see it. But as they're walking out, Venom says, "Look to your right." And then they start looking in the room, and they see all these like basically carvings in the wall. And then once they leave, Venom's trying to explain to Eddie what everything is, and that part was pretty funny because Venom starts taking control of Eddie's body, and he like grabs the Sharpie like this and starts writing all aggressively. And that's what dude's writing like the Flash at that point. Like,
yeah, just the capability of his brain being able to like literally memorize everything.
Yeah, and then just recreate it for him right there. But Eddie can't figure it out. He doesn't know what the hell Venom's talking about at that point.
So as like Venom is making Eddie draw all these things, after like 5 different images, Venom like puts this paper to the computer screen, and it's like where Cletus's body, like where Cletus buried all the bodies that he killed. Mm-hmm. So then he gives that to Mulligan or the police, and then he's this big headline because
Eddie got his career.
Yeah. And because Eddie uncovered all the missing bodies, they reopened the investigation on Cletus, so they have him put down for lethal injection.
That dude's dead.
Yep.
Then we get into like this the funny scene, obviously, where Venom, he's trying to cope with not being the person that eats humans. So he's kind of eating chickens, and then he has the 2 chickens that live with them. He says he can't eat them because they're family.
They're best friends.
Yeah. So they go up to the little liquor store, and the Asian lady from the last movie's there. She's in the last movie, right?
Yeah.
And the Asian lady from the last movie's there, and obviously she's familiar with Venom at this point, so she says what's up to Venom. They're like friendly, you know. But she gives him chocolate, and that's the little exchange that they have.
For protection, right?
Yeah. And those are the only things that Venom really eats nowadays. It's just the chicken and the chocolate. That sounds like a horrible diet.
Yeah.
I mean, human doesn't sound much better, but at least eat something other than chicken and chocolate.
So, Anne requests Eddie to meet her for dinner because she has some news for him. He's thinking it's gonna be good news, but it's because Dan actually proposed and now she's engaged.
Yeah.
So
this actually led to a lot of comedy as well. Like the whole movie was just littered with this type of comedy, but Venom's in Eddie's head, and he's trying to force Eddie to cry over this. It was pretty hilarious. But anyways, Eddie ends up leaving because he doesn't want to cry in front of Anne.
yeah, and then at that point too, she didn't know that Venom was still with him.
Yeah, she was like questioning it, and he told her that he wasn't.
Yeah, so I guess she realizes like you're not yourself, so he must be there. So she tells Venom to take care of Eddie and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was just funny because he was like, "I'm gonna make you cry, do it."
And then the scene led to another comical part where Venom's trying to cheer up Eddie because Eddie was ready to commit suicide.
Yeah, he was heartbroken.
It looked like it. Like he was driving into oncoming traffic and stuff like that. But yeah, he was definitely heartbroken. So Venom starts singing and making him breakfast, and this part's just funny. Venom can do a lot. That man went and got his mail while also making coffee, making eggs, and then pushes Eddie into the table and sets him up his breakfast. Gets him his mail, says, "This for you." And then Eddie got this letter. Cletus was requesting to see him. He actually wrote it all weird around the little letter.
The edges of the postcard.
The way he wrote it was very weird. But then he also like smashed a spider into it.
Yeah, it was just a weird. Somebody in the right mind wouldn't typically write, no.
Yeah, that's definitely a psychopath that wrote that and sent that to you.
Yeah.
But Eddie ends up going to see Cletus one last time before his execution, and Cletus wants him to be at the execution, which is kind of weird. I don't know why he wants Eddie there. But so they're talking, and then Cletus says we're alike. We both blame ourselves for our mom's death or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then Venom gets upset and he starts smacking Cletus around, and then he pulls him near him, and then that's when Cletus bites Eddie.
Bites his hand.
Yeah, and then Cletus has the little like blood on his lips from biting him, and he's like, "That's not blood, Eddie. I've tasted blood before." Yeah, and then that dude like picks it off, sees like the little red symbiote on his finger, and then eats it. That dude's a weirdo.
And because Venom like took over and started beating up Cletus, Brock was obviously upset about it, and that's what caused like bickering between them even more, because Venom wants to be himself and do what he wants to do, and Eddie wants to stay low key and like not, because they're still under investigation at this point from the previous movie, so like he feels they're gonna get locked up or something's gonna happen to them, so he doesn't want Venom to be out and like known, so that causes them to bicker and they fight. And Venom starts beating up Brock.
I don't know why Eddie would even try to fight Venom. I mean, Venom's obviously gonna win. He's got control of your whole body at that point. But it was pretty funny because he like headbutts Eddie, and then he's like, "I'm gonna hit you again." And he headbutts him twice. Eddie's bleeding, and they just destroy his apartment. I would be so pissed. Yeah. So then Venom ends up leaving, says we're gonna split up or whatever like that. And then Eddie's right there, finally. And then he just hears like banging. He's like, "Oh no!" Runs out to his window, and he sees Venom tearing up his bike.
And he's like, "Yeah!"
And then Venom jumps from one person to the next, one human to the next. And as he's riding off on the bike, you see the hand come up and just flip him off. Yeah, I freaking love it.
He's like, "Screw you!"
Yeah, so then we get into the execution of Cletus, and he's down, lethal injection, like Destiny was saying. But something happens during that lethal injection. They start putting the poison in, and then you see the Carnage come back out, and then you just start seeing Cletus like completely transform.
Yeah.
Yeah. busts through the glass, starts killing everyone in there, eating everyone.
Yeah.
And that dude, Carnage, he's a damn monster. Like,
he went on this whole rampage in that prison.
bullets coming to him, he was just shooting them back out, and then like when they were shooting at him too, he would just like open part of his stomach so they just go straight through him. But he was tearing up. All the inmates were cheering him on as if he was on their side.
He was like breaking down the cells too, so that they couldn't like lock him back up.
But he catches dude that does this like twister thing, and then grabs dude and ends up beating that guy. Just the guy who was gonna give him the lethal injection.
The whole like introduction of him was like hype.
Yeah.
I just feel like I wish it would have happened sooner.
Yeah.
Like he was saying,
Yeah, they definitely should have introduced him sooner, and he should have been in more of the movie. Even when he was in, he didn't really have much action other than his first introduction and the final scene. Like in between, there wasn't enough that was really important to the Carnage character. And while all this is going on, then you have Venom, who is now split from Eddie. And he goes to this rave, and he's wearing like the colored necklaces and stuff like that. It's just I don't see where this scene fits in and why they decided to enter. I mean, I guess because Venom wanted to feel accepted. Yeah. But it was just weird to see because I would have never pictured Venom at a rave like that, and everyone was thinking he was wearing a costume and stuff like that. So Venom gets up on stage and he starts basically like talking about Eddie, saying that he needs to feel accepted, and Eddie should have appreciated him from the beginning.
Everybody's hyping him up.
Yeah.
He's like, I love you too.
Yeah. Venom, he definitely has his comical side, and I love it.
Yeah, that's my favorite. I feel like Venom from even like obviously the first Venom, and then this movie, he was my favorite character.
Yeah, of both movies.
Of both movies, yeah.
Yeah, he brings the action. Obviously, he's huge and he can destroy anything. But also, he's very comical. Yeah, this scene also shows how much Venom actually cares about Eddie. He wants nothing else but to be accepted by Eddie and like to feel loved, because he definitely loves Eddie. And I think he does say it later in the movie or something of that nature. He's like, oh, so you love me? And he's like, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he does. After he goes on like that little speech on the stage, he's walking away from like the crowd of people, and he's just like, I wish you could have seen me tonight.
Yeah,
Eddie.
That's true. It is sad.
Yeah, it was like. So Cletus and Carnage break out of prison, and they end up hijacking this car, and Cletus cuts a deal basically with Carnage, saying, I'll let you basically run the show if you help me break out Francis, and then I'll give you Venom's location.
Because he knows where to find Eddie, I guess. But
yeah,
so they end up going to the location Ravencroft where Francis is, and the employees over there at Ravencroft think there's no way that he'll ever find him. But I think Carnage breaks into this like convenience store and then gets access to the internet and finds her location. And he walks up and he's like, I'm gonna introduce you to someone, don't be afraid. And then Carnage comes out and wraps the whole thing, busts her out of Ravencroft, and they get in the car. She's all happy because it's her dream car, apparently. Yeah. But they're escaping from the police, and while they're doing that, Shriek then screams, and Carnage says, she does that again, I'll kill her. Because obviously, the symbiotes don't like noise and fire. Like I said, Sonic screamed earlier, so obviously he's going to hate that. She stops, they end up driving away, and they get away.
So while all this is going on, Mulligan is obviously sus about Brock because Cletus only wanted to talk to him. So he takes him in and like for questioning. And...
Yeah, because Brock was the one who saw him right before he escaped or whatever like that. So they're kind of like questioning whether Brock had anything to do with it. So yeah, while he's in there for questioning, he says he wants to get his phone call. So he calls Anne. Anne heads up there, and then he explains the whole Venom not being with him thing. So he sends her out to go find Venom. And Venom ends up showing up at the liquor store. And you think it's this drunk person that falls in, throws up at first, but then it's Venom ultimately. So obviously that's the first place Anne's going to go check because they know that Venom likes to go there to eat the chocolate. So when Anne shows up, they're speaking with the Asian lady, and Dan's there with them, and Dan's all worried about it. He's like, he doesn't want to deal with symbiotes or anything like that. And then the clerk calls him, and Destiny just started dying. Yeah, that was one of Destiny's favorite parts of the movie for sure.
Yeah, that whole scene like at the store was just hilarious.
Yeah, and at that point, then Anne figures out that Venom's inside of her because Clerk doesn't really speak like that.
Yeah.
So she's trying to convince Venom to go with her. Venom says no, and then she starts flirting with him and saying she wants like seeing him in action and stuff like that. And Venom's like, let's go save him.
He's like, mm-hmm.
Anne actually takes the Venom, and she becomes the female version of Venom. And she breaks in, and then she breaks out Eddie, and they just jump out the wall. But after they jump out the wall, Eddie wants Venom back, obviously, like that, but Venom's not with that.
Yeah, he wants him to apologize first. And, like, he just wants Eddie to sweet talk him, honestly. Like, it was just so funny. Like,
Put a cherry on top.
Yeah, Anne was just like, like, he needs more.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty funny scene. Like, just them together, I feel like, are very funny.
Yeah, so he ends up apologizing multiple times, and then Venom, he is going to go back to Brock, but the way to do it, they have to hug. And he's like, kiss her. And Eddie's like, are you going to kiss me? And she's like, no, never again. And she's like, well, maybe, because I actually like being in the Venom costume or something like that.
And she's like, that's pretty fun.
Yeah. So Eddie ends up telling Anne and Dan to leave. And then while they do that, of course, Shriek ends up showing up and ties up Dan and then captures Anne.
Yeah.
Dan and Anne, too much. Ties up Dan, captures Anne, and then tells Dan to tell Venom, or Eddie, that he has her and that to show up at the wedding or whatever. Something.
Yeah, the red
her
wedding.
Her and Cletus are getting married. Yeah. So Dan ends up calling Eddie. Eddie then ends up going to the cathedral.
Chapel. Oh, yeah, the cathedral.
And then this was like funny back and forth right here, because once Eddie shows up, he shows up as Venom, and he goes up, and then Carnage comes out, and he's like, I'm gonna kill you, father, or something like that. And the pastor, the father, he was like, no. And he's like, not you, him. But yeah, because technically Venom is Carnage's dad, so that's like a whole weird father type of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, as soon as Venom sees Carnage, he crawls back into Eddie, and he's like hiding pretty much. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I guess he was scared of the red symbiote because, like...
Yeah, he said he's a red one.
Yeah, and then he's like, he's got stuff that you've never seen or something like that. Yeah. It was funny because, like, him and Eddie were going back and forth, and, like, again, I think Venom got called a or something.
Yeah, Eddie's trying to call him out, and then he ends up getting him to come out by saying, I'll let you eat all the humans or whatever like that. And then Venom's like, all right, let's do it. And then my favorite part of the movie happens where Venom's like, time to die. And then he ends up saying, like, not for him, for us. Yeah, because I guess Venom really thinks that they're going to lose this fight. Like, he has no chance, but he's going for it. It was just like a funny little... Because I really thought he was talking about Carnage. Like, he was being all aggressive, but he was really saying that they're going to go and die. So yeah, they get into the whole fight, and a whole lot of back and forth, a lot of sound. Dan ends up throwing fire on Carnage, and this whole time Shriek's trying to kill Mulligan. She ends up
tying a chain around his neck, and, like, she hangs him for a second and then, like, pushes him off of the building or, like, onto this post. And she sees, obviously, that Carnage is getting burned, so she's, like, running to go save Cletus, and leaves Mulligan there, and he's dead.
Yeah. So yeah, this fight scene between Venom and Carnage, it was perfect. I love the fight scene. However, it did take long to get to it, and they really only meet at the end of the movie. That's one of the things I didn't like. I think there should have been more interaction with them throughout the whole movie. Carnage was introduced late, so it kind of...
Yeah, that's true. And then also for me, I feel like... Okay, so for my rating for this whole movie, Chris disagreed with me. I feel like, for me personally, I'm more of a fan of Venom because of his comedy side. Yeah, so I don't know. I just feel like Venom was the main character for me.
I think they still could have introduced Carnage better and had a better story for him.
Yeah, that's true.
And he was kind of, like I said before, he was held back from the PG-13 rating because Carnage could have been more explicit, definitely could have been more gory. He could have been eating people a lot more.
That's true.
But it was a good portrayal of Carnage overall. I'm a fan of Carnage. I'm a fan of Venom. Like, growing up, obviously the comics, the games. There was a Spider-Man PlayStation 1 that I played, and it had Carnage in it, and he was chasing you down, and that was really cool. So I've liked Carnage ever since then. But I love Venom too, so it was nice to see them actually go up against each other. During their fight, that bell is going off. It's just, obviously they hate it, so they're just going back into Eddie and Cletus back and forth and coming out and fighting each other. Yeah, so after that... Carnage is on top. He's winning the fight, and he basically put some rubble all over Venom, and then Venom kind of like gives up at that point, and Dan's just right there, and Carnage takes Anne, and he's like climbing up the tower, King Kong
you're
style.
Gonna watch her die, King Kong style.
Yeah, so Dan's trying to convince Venom to go, like not give up, that he has Anne or whatever. And then
I feel like this was my favorite part, only because of like it sent chills down my body. Like, so Carnage was taking Anne, and then Venom was there giving up, and Eddie and Venom, obviously, again, we're going back and forth. And I guess Eddie realizes, like, Carnage and Cletus aren't cohesive like Venom and Eddie are. So that only makes them stronger because they're so cohesive. So then, like, they, I don't know, give each other, like, this little pep talk, heart to heart.
Yeah.
So it, like, brings out the strength in Venom to keep fighting. So then they climb up the tower, King Kong style as well, and go to save Anne.
Yeah, and then while they're doing this, I think they start fighting again, and then Venom grabs Francis and pushes her through the thing, and then the bell falls on top of her, and that's the last you see of Shriek.
Yeah. But that causes her to also use her powers.
Yeah, she screams on the way down.
Yeah, which causes Cletus to fall and Eddie to fall.
Yeah. And then I think at that point is when Carnage separated from Cletus, as she was saying, Venom and Brock, they're kind of like one at this point. So Venom stood with Brock, but Carnage separated from Cletus. And then that's when Venom grabs the symbiote, the Carnage symbiote, and he starts eating it. And then he said it tasted nasty or something like that. And then right after that, he has his the final words with Cletus, and then he eats Cletus too. And obviously Venom loved that because he loves eating humans.
Yeah.
But
well, like, I think that part was funny too because, like, Cletus was trying to pour his heart out to Brock and was like, you know why I only wanted to talk to you was because I wanted something along the lines of he wanted to be friends or something like that. Yeah. And then Eddie's like split face, and then I don't know, he's like pouring out his heart, and then Venom's like, F that guy, and he bites his head off. I forgot about that. I think that part was really funny.
So right after this, it cuts back to Mulligan, who we thought was dead, and he's just like up there on the pole up there. And his eyes open and they turn blue, therefore symbolizing something coming in the future. I think people are talking about Toxin coming in. Toxin is another symbiote, and that is going to be a good third movie. I can't wait for that. If that's what's next, I'm ready for it. But
I'm ready for everything that's next, honestly.
But it gets into Eddie, Anne, and Dan. They're all leaving, and they're going to be on the run. Basically, he tells Dan and Anne to leave. And Venom and him are going to completely leave, and they go to this beach at the end. And Venom finally gets what he wants.
Gets to put his toes in the sand.
And the wind in his hair.
And then Eddie apologizes because he has no hair.
Yeah, but it is pretty funny to see Venom's toes
in the
sand.
literally in the sand.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, it's just not something I would picture growing up Venom doing, having his toes in the sand, or Venom at a rave. I don't know. It's also weird for me, but it works.
I feel like it works. Like, it's this alien symbiote, whatever, like, who wants to live a normal life. And I feel like that's kind of why I like his character more, because he doesn't want to be bad. Yeah. He just wants to eat brains.
He's like an anti-hero. But that's where the movie ends, and then it gets into the credits, and then you get a mid-credit scene. And this, the best part of the movie by far. It sets up so much for the future. I'm so ready for it. I think the world is ready for it. I can't freaking wait.
I'm very impatient.
Yeah, Destiny, like she said, she couldn't even wait for this movie, and she watched it the same day. But,
literally like hours before.
So what happens in the end credit scene is you see Eddie laying there, and he's watching his novellas, and in the novella, the girl's keeping a secret from the guy, and then Eddie asks Venom, do you keep secrets from me? And Venom's like, I have 80 million universes or something like that, and we have a hive mind. The symbiotes have a hive mind, so all knowledge is shared between them. And Venom was like, so yeah, obviously I keep a lot of stuff from you, but I can give you a little insight to what we know. So Venom then is about to do it, and then you see the light in the background, and you see the room change, and honestly, it reminds me of the upcoming movie, the Spider-Man movie, obviously, right? When Doctor Strange does that whole spell, and then everything changes in the world. But it switches, and you see the TV change, and what it changes to is J. Jonah Jameson on the screen saying that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and Venom goes up to it. You see Venom come out.
I literally cannot, like, I'm just so ready. Like, this just opens so many gates.
Venom is part of the Marvel Universe now. He is, I hope, coming in the next Spider-Man movie. If not, then Peter Parker's coming in his next movie. But they're together. And Venom goes up to the screen and licks it and says him or something like that. Or he says
that guy.
Yeah, that guy or something like that. So Venom's obviously familiar with it, maybe from the other Spider-Man universe or something like that. The Tobey Maguire ones maybe, because Venom wasn't that third one. But we're so ready for this. Man, I can't wait.
Yeah.
It's going to be so good. And then the guy comes out the restroom and he's like, what are you doing in my room? And that part was pretty funny. But,
yeah.
But ultimately, Spider-Man, Venom, same universe. We're ready for it. We can't wait.
So it's just gonna be so much like happening within these next few movies, and I'm so ready. Like, I'm so hype about it. My brain can't even fathom.
She can't wait the 2 months for the next Spider-Man movie.
I know he told me that it comes out in December. I was like,
I'm hoping to get a lot of questions answered. I think it can replace my favorite movie of all time. That movie being Endgame right now. Endgame brought out, actually made me cry. If I'm being honest, Endgame, I freaking loved it. Man. But this has potential to beat that. I can't wait for the Spider-Man movie.
I have no words for that post-credit scene. Like, I can't even begin to explain what I feel like is gonna happen. It's just so much, and I'm so ready.
Yeah. But anyways, we appreciate you being here. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share it with a friend, and make sure you check out our other videos on the right here. And we'll catch you guys in the next one. Stuck on the Screen, out.